Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm really pleased to introduce our speaker today, Chimyo Atkinson Osho. Chimyo has a very long practice history, first as a layperson and later as a priest. Chimyo is a native New Yorker who practiced primarily for her training in North Carolina with Tejo Munich. Chimyo has practiced in the United States and also in Japan in many different practice locations, including, as you all know, in the same place where I practiced at the women's monastery in Nagoya in Japan. So we are very lucky to have her deep Dharma voice. A great fan of Dogen Zenji, as well as other significant influences, including science fiction, etc. New York Public Library System. Chimyo is a dear friend, and I'm so grateful to her for being here today. So with that, I'm going to back out and let her speak. Thank you so much, Chimyo.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me be here. Yeah. Tinker just asked me to do this yesterday. I hope you can hear me well. It's going okay? Okay. And of course, I've said okay. And because why not? Because she is also a dear friend to me. But in a sense, I feel unprepared. I was going to, recycle another talk that I had. And I looked at it last night and just wasn't feeling it. That was months ago. And I don't really like doing that anyway. So I got up this morning and I wrote a little something. It's very short. It is unedited. And so please excuse me. I'll read from it here. Something I've been talking to a lot of people about lately. Dogen says that we are already Buddha. Suzuki says that we are perfect just as we are. We just need a little improvement. This is a difficult thing for us to grasp and accept in many ways. I'm just going to talk about 2 ways here. Sometimes we have this habit of pushing our Buddhahood away. We don't believe we are good enough, which is what these statements are actually saying, that we are good enough. And we think we need to put Buddha or other people we perceive as Buddha on a pedestal above us and give them all the Buddha responsibility. They are the kind ones. They are the wise ones. They are the ones who get to walk the Buddha way so that we don't have to. And this is our ego. Somebody else can do it for me. I don't have to make that effort. Or in the other direction, we are Buddha. We are perfect just as we are. And then we disregard the other half of that statement that says we still have to change. This is also our ego. There is right effort. The effort to act as Buddhas even when we don't feel we are good enough. To drop the ego and be willing to fail at the effort to do better, to be Buddha. And at the other end, to drop the ego that believes that we don't need to change and that we don't need to walk that path. We don't actually have to step onto the path. This, excuse me, this is also about impermanence, change, and emptiness. about every moment being an opportunity to awaken and manifest our true Buddha nature. Suzuki uses the word improve, which has a lot of judgment behind it. Some language can't be helped, I guess, but take the judgment out of it. We are perfect as we are, but we still need to make the effort toward the perfection of perfection. Buddhahood is not a static in a universe that is changing, that is continuously changing. We need to keep up our effort on the Eightfold Path. To be on that path, pursuing, making the effort is to embrace our Buddha nature. This is where Dogen says, where you sit on that cushion, you are enlightened. This is practice. This is why we are here in this particular moment, and then in this particular moment, and the next moment. So that's what I wrote this morning. I'm not even going to pretend that I know what I'm talking about, but we're going to go ahead anyway. This practice is not easy. This practice is not meant to make us feel comfortable with who we are, whether we think we are not enough, or whether we think we are the best thing since sliced bread. This is the practice to always know that the effort has to be made. Tinku said that you all have been talking here and there about the Eightfold Path. And this is right effort. It's also right intention. It's also right action. All of those things are very much connected to each other, very much intertwined. You can't do one without the other. But the effort has to be there. We're sitting in a time in this country where things are changing, and they're going to change one way or the other, no matter what we, no matter what we do, no matter what we want. And we have to be a part of that change, conscious part of that change, and awake part of that change is to step onto the path and truly make the effort to see what's going on and to adjust ourselves, not just adjust, but to create the self that, bad words, terrible words, create this being that we think we aspire to be, this being of wisdom and consciousness and clarity, is a big effort. And this is where we are as individuals and as a community. Maybe it's hard sometimes to think of a country, the big USA, as a community. We think of, we separate ourselves, box ourselves into states and regions and cities, and those people over there and these people over here and my people over here. Even though we call ourselves, in the USA. But this is a big community. It's a community full of people that you will never meet and never know. But if we are truly making the effort on the Buddha path, we have to have some consciousness of them, and we have to have some good intent toward everyone, no matter where they're sitting on this continent, no matter where we are. And this expands into the world. It's very hard to think of the world as a community. That those people over there on this, across the vast ocean, over another pole, over the equator, all these boundaries we have, are part of us. And that takes a lot of effort. Even, even a neighbor across the fence, we're always thinking about, our yard and your yard. And those things do apply. I'm not saying that you should tear down the fence and let their dog poop in your yard. I don't know. But if you do that, if you have a fence, understand that sometimes you got to have a gate in that fence to let people through, to let yourself through and not trap yourself. And this is a great effort. And this is part of change and walking the path. I'm trying to pull this together, y'all, but I'm trying to find the words because, words are so, can be so misleading, and I don't want to do that. But yeah. But to go back, the practice does begin with us understanding that we are Buddhists. We are already Buddhists. So we need to act like Buddhas. We need to speak like Buddhas. We need to make our livelihoods like Buddhas. And a Buddha has to make the effort to tear down the fences when they need to be torn down, and understand that they are delusions anyway, those fences. In a sense, I don't, one of the things I know that is on everyone's mind is the George Floyd, this particular phase of the George Floyd situation in this country. And in a sense, I don't even want to talk about it because it's it's all delusion. It's all full of delusion. The delusion of Chauvin, the delusion of this side or that side, the delusion of the people who, in their anger and frustration, destroyed a city, and the delusion of those who want to place blame here and there. We're all responsible for Chauvin's behavior. We're all responsible for the death of this man, and others who in this country who are suffering and dying over something as little as $20. You understand that he died because $20. Okay. It's hard to take this on. It's hard to change. We all want to say that we are victims of this, but we are also perpetrators of this. Even myself, and it may be hard to pull all the pieces together and figure out, how exactly I am connected to the death of George Floyd. How exactly am I responsible for the death of George Floyd and the disillusion and the delusion of Derek Chauvin? How am I responsible for that? And I cannot sit here and point out to you all the steps between me and those two men. But we are all responsible for creating the world around us by our action, by our inaction, by our acceptance, by our non-acceptance, by our using our delusion to blame this one and that one. And it almost doesn't matter what those connections actually look like, you know. But when I sit on my cushion and try to manifest Buddha nature, um, all of that I have to take into account. I have to take into account um, all of the things that are happening in the world, whether I am physically in that space, whether I physically did anything to harm anyone. I have to take all of that into account when I'm sitting. And that doesn't mean that when I get up, I go and I fix everything. But this little piece of the universe has to has to awaken in order to be part of the big change. Has to be awake in order to take the opportunity to, whether it's simply putting out the right or the appropriate beneficial energy into the world, um, just that little bit, or whether it's I get up and I say something, and it has to, and that practice has to inform what is said. That practice has to inform my action, because even if I'm not directly in contact, this is what makes the world. And it would be wonderful if every single being, every single person in the world would act from that and drop all that delusion and act from that. And maybe the harm and the violence would stop. We'd like to think that. But just as it's difficult for me to do this practice and drop that delusion, it's difficult for other reasons for someone else in North Carolina, Elizabethtown, wherever it was, to drop their delusions and not pick up that gun. And I have to understand that I don't have to accept that that's the way it should be or anything, but I have to start right here before I can change anything, quote unquote, out here. You know, I say quote unquote because the delusion is that it's out here. You know? And before I go and address what happened, what's, quote unquote again, some other being outside of me did, I have to awaken here, because that's on my mess. If I take my mess over there, it's just going to make more mess. It's just going to make it more dire, more madness, more painful, creating more suffering. And I don't want to make it sound like, because the other thing that is very difficult about Zen is that, and I hate when people say this, because it's not exactly true, that all I have to do is sit on my cushion and send out good vibes and awaken myself, and that will be it. No. The point is to awaken all beings, to help all beings to awaken. So simply sitting on our cushion and working at this is maybe at certain points all that we can do. But regardless, even if we're just going to get up and go to the bathroom, we're going to leave that cushion and we're going to affect something off of that cushion. So what we develop on the cushion has to go with us wherever we go, even if it's just around the freaking corner to the bathroom. It has to be carried with us. We have to manifest it in every way we are. And that's kind of what Dogen and Suzuki are saying. And we are not going to, and this is our compassion and our intent and all this, all of it comes in here. We are going to fail so many times. We're going to lose that awareness. 1 second we have it, and the next second it's going to be gone. But we have to keep going back, keep doing it, keep, trying, keep making the right effort to respond in the appropriate way in every moment, beyond our delusions. We have to recognize when our delusions are coming and going, and we can't expect other people to manifest it for us. And we can't delude ourselves into believing that just because we saw something one moment that we're still seeing clearly, because the effort has to be made in every moment. It doesn't end. This practice does not end. This practice, this perfection doesn't stay perfect. It's not static. It's not. It's a living thing. Your practice is a living thing. Always developing. Always 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and forward again. If you have to look at things in that linear way. So I'm going to stop there because I don't think I can go any further with my words. I'm not very. I'm so struggling with this most of the time, all of the time. What? Yeah. Well,